building brands and creating something from nothing is thrilling. It's like a roller coaster type of feeling. And I felt, okay, well, that's great. I've done it for so many brands over 20 years of my professional career. Why not jump off and start helping more brands create their own story and give them a little bit of a purpose, of values, and create their impact on ground. And this is exactly why I left.
Welcome to the show, Mariam. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for having me. This is great.
We just connected properly, I'd say, last week at an event for She Talks, which was a part of a Creative Zone initiative. And we had you as one of the panelists. And it was a really nice way to get to know you a little bit more and then know that you were coming on the podcast. So for those that don't know you, can you perhaps give a little bit of a backstory? And then we'll get into I've got a number of questions from last Friday that I'm like, oh, I'd love to ask a little bit more on that. So over to you first.
Absolutely. I'm originally Egyptian. I consider myself a global citizen because I've either worked or studied or lived in more than 7 countries. I've been in the UAE for 16 years, so I call basically this country, this beautiful country, my home. I've had my children here. I have 2 boys. Yeah, I've jumped from one industry to another, and it led me to a beautiful journey full of inspiration and challenges and opportunities. And
So, when we talk about jumping from one industry, so you actually came from the corporate space, you'd been in that. And, when I was doing my research beforehand, your backstory is quite evident there. You were with NBC for a while, you have quite a history there. And what actually made you to go, do you know what? I want to leave this space and go in to do my own thing?
It's a couple of things. First, NBC was my home, and it's still my home. I love the brand. I'm in love with the brand. And when I join a brand or an entity or something, I kind of marry it. I give it my all. So my history with NBC is quite evident. I created a few equitable brands, if you want. NBC Hope, which is the corporate philanthropic arm of NBC. And then I created something called NBC Academy that focuses on the new talent in the film industry and the media industry. So for me, it was always challenging and inspirational. But I think after 8 years, I was looking for a new journey. I was looking for a new challenge, and I was looking to be inspired more to get to get onto the next step. The second reason why I felt that building brands and creating something from nothing is thrilling for me. Thrilling. It's just, it's like a roller coaster type of feeling. And I felt, okay, well, that's great. I've done it for so many brands over 20 years of my professional career. Why not jump off and start helping more brands create their own story and give them a little bit of a purpose, of values, and create their impact on ground. And this is exactly why I left.
So what was that? Was it just a case of one day, or did you give yourself a 6-month period? Because when I decided to hand in my notice, like what probably should have done when I went from salaried employee to run my own business is I probably should have got some more savings behind me. And I didn't. I just went for it. I didn't run it alongside anything. I just went, I'm quitting, and I did. How was it for you?
Exactly that. I just said, I'm quitting. And I had people tell me, are you crazy? You've built an empire at NBC. Your association with the brand is quite strong in the community and in the region. Wait a little bit, find something else. And I said, I'm not interested to find something else. I'm going to find my own self and my own journey. But, sometimes, look, jumping off and taking that risk doesn't work for everybody. Some people actually need to have the savings and need to have that safety net on the side and need to have that plan before they jump. For me, it was sort of like I've been planning my exit for 3 years. It never happened. And so I think what happened was COVID happened, my transformation and growth happened. And that's when I realized it's now or never. I need to leave. I need to make that step.
So many people actually overcomplicate it. And certainly when I was in that position, the rationale for me was, what's the worst that can happen? okay, the worst that can happen is the next 6 months, the business never takes off, blah, 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 blah. I'll apply and either get my job back or go to something else. Like, that's worst case scenario. And then when you kind of put it like that, you're like, okay, I'd still be doing the same thing, but at least I'd tried, you know? So that was sort of where my headspace was at. Let's talk a little bit about that transformation. So COVID was a bit of a game changer for you from a number of reasons. And I know we spoke about it on Friday. Perhaps elaborate a little bit more on why that was such a game changer.
So March 2020, my mother, who raised me, I was raised by a single mom, very resilient, full of courage, bravery, but also extremely hopeful and positive. So she taught me basically everything that I know today, and she's my role model. She was a very active and determined woman until 82, when she suffered a brain stroke and it left her half paralyzed. So her entire left side is paralyzed. That really hit me hard because she's my backbone, but also because I realized that anything can happen overnight. No one is safe from health issues. Given COVID and the lockdown, given that I wasn't quite happy where I was in my professional sphere, if you want, I was starting to think this is the time that I leave, and then COVID hit. And so I felt stuck. I felt stuck at home because we were in a lockdown. I felt stuck in my job because I cannot move now. Everybody's on hold. The world just went shh, you know. And I felt stuck because I couldn't go and spend some time with my mother. I was worried about her. The first 4 months she lost her memory. And so I couldn't even speak to her over the phone. And I found myself falling into depression more and more, experiencing a lot of panic attacks and a lot of anxiety about the future. What's going to happen? I remember I used to spend nights looking out my window thinking, will tomorrow be tomorrow? Will we have a tomorrow as the world is collapsing and COVID and people are covered from head to toe, and you know, people are dying and everyone is like, you know, doesn't know what's happening. People are losing their jobs. People are losing, you know, loved ones. And it's just, the world just went shut down. It just shut down. That's when I went literally like down in the gutter when it comes to my mental health. But I had to get myself out of it. I'm a mother, and my husband got locked down in Portugal as well. He went to see his mother. He got stuck there for 6 months. So I was here alone with my 2 boys, 12 and 10 at the time. And you need to keep the hope. You need to be positive because you're stuck together in one house. You can't get out. You know the drill. Everybody knows what was going on. And so I realized that it's my own will to change my surroundings, stop victimizing yourself and start taking yourself out of that gutter, uplift your spirits and look for ways to handle your panic attacks. So I looked for apps online for breathing exercises and so on. I went through a transformation of I'm on a high with my career to I'm literally in the lowest of the lowest. And then I said, it transformed me. It was so much growth, Kelly. I cannot even describe it. I was like uplifted. You know, my spirits were just like, it's like I felt like I was flying slowly from bottom to the level that I should be. And that's when I realized that I need to leave where I am quickly. I need to change my life. I need to find my purpose. I lost my purpose along the way. I need to help myself, but also I needed to help to become an advocate for mental health, for people to actually seek help, to realize that they do have a problem, because a lot of people are in denial. So the first thing is to accept that you do have a problem, then to seek help, whatever that help is. It could be an app, it could be a friend, it could be anything. It could be you speaking to yourself in the mirror and uplifting yourself. And as like Mel Robbins always says, give yourself a high five, you know? Okay. I watched a lot of YouTube, a lot of videos, I listened to a lot of podcasts that uplifted my spirit and changed my mindset. And I was brave enough now to talk about it. I want to talk about it. Before I used to think, because in this region we take mental health like, oh my God, she's crazy, or what is she talking about? She's trying to get more followers, or she's trying to get sympathy or empathy. No, you need to talk about it, and it's not about what other people think of you. It's about you helping others realize that they are suffering from mental health and that they need to get the right kind of help.
You shared so many sort of valuable insights in terms of apps that you can go to for breathing. The content that you were consuming was all inspirational, motivational, kind of changing, like exactly what you said, changing your mindset. Who was your husband the first person that you went to admit, I've got a problem, I need help? Was it friends? Like, it's once you've made the acknowledgement yourself, like, okay, do you know what, I need help, and you can start doing these things. How do you start telling people? Because that's the scary part.
I actually didn't tell my husband. I felt that I needed to tell a friend, and I felt that I needed to just make that call and arrange my own therapy session. I felt that if I had told anyone, I would have gotten external confusing decisions, and I felt that I just needed to make that decision on my own and just to go for it. And it was the best thing that I've done. I had a few therapy sessions online. It did help a lot, but throughout mainly my journey, I helped myself. Like you mentioned, I consumed a lot of content. I looked for answers and for comforting sessions online. There's so much. And that's why I always say, if you want to help yourself, don't say I don't have the money for therapy, because therapy is online and therapy is within you. And you can seek therapy from just speaking to a friend. Sometimes we just need someone to sit there and listen and nod and then give you a hug in the end. They're not necessarily going to give you a solution, right, to all your problems. They're not a genie. I wish we can just rub the genie and get your 3 wishes.
Wouldn't that be lovely? Wouldn't that be lovely?
Listening, podcasts. These are, that's an amazing platform, because you just put it on and you walk doing your own business about the house, but you're listening to people that are motivating you, inspiring you, pushing you forward, giving you the will to live another day, and changing your mindset to, I'm not a loser. I'm actually great at what I do, and I'm going to make that happen. I'm saying that as well because a lot of entrepreneurs out there, and a lot of young entrepreneurs, they always feel like, I can't do this, I don't have the right funding, I don't have the right network, I'm just going to quit and I'm going to go find a job. And that's okay too, if this is what they want to do after they quit the first time. That's fine. Like you said, what's the worst that could happen, right? But sometimes we just need to give it a little bit of time and to find the right answers somewhere else, and to just motivate ourselves.
Yeah, podcasts are an amazing resource. I remember years ago, who was it that said it? Was it Brian Tracy? You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And, maybe say 10, 12 years ago, I was thinking, I feel like my social circle isn't where I want it to be. And podcasts really became that sort of, it was like I just had breakfast with whoever it was I was listening to. We had like a half-hour catch up and just listening. Like, I absolutely love the wealth of knowledge that you can gain from podcasts that doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost you anything. It just costs you effort. And if you want to change, you're the one that's got to do that. And exactly, and that's sort of Mel Robbins, give yourself a high five. And if it's baby steps, or it's 5 seconds, or it's, 5 minutes you listen to once a day, it's a complete game changer. So you got yourself out of the very dark space that you were in. How did you go about sort of getting your first client. So you knew you wanted to work with brands and the sort of the story element of Humanizing. And I mentioned it on Friday, you know, the future of business is personal. And, you know, I know that's something we both share so passionately, that, you know, stop hiding behind your business, stop hiding behind your brand, take control, come in front of it. So let's talk about how you did that for yourself first, and then maybe we can go into some examples of clients that you've done that for and the differences and the results that they've got.
I started off by calling up friends, you know, what's going on, what's happening, just having a coffee, explaining to them what I do. But honestly speaking, I was lucky enough to land 3 projects as soon as I started, one after the other, and it was great because there were 3 different industries, 3 different types of levels of involvement, and yeah, I mean, it gave me some time. I mean, I've been on my own now for almost a year. The first 3-4 months for me, it was more like trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to do. So what is my value proposition? What am I bringing to the table? And then just going out there and having conversations with everyone. I worked with FMCGs, I worked with beauty brands, I worked with real estate, I worked with film festivals, I'm working now with Expo. I mean, so the industries are different, they're exciting. And the idea, Kelly, you know, the idea of sitting down with a company or brand or a person, because a person is their own brand, right? Yeah. You're a brand, I'm a brand. Is just, and trying to figure out those first steps of how to create your story is so beautiful. I love doing that. I love sitting down with companies and departments and trying to figure out the corporate culture. How are we going to get the people on board? What do we need to do to uplift everybody's spirits internally? What sort of programs can we run throughout the year? Then putting everything in a strategy, putting it into action, and then seeing, you know, the flowers bloom. So what I always say at Humanizing Brands is that we strategize, we act, and then we communicate our impact. Because you need a plan, then you need to put your plan into action, and then you see the impact and how to communicate it properly. So communication with purpose, building your own media platforms with the right kind of story. So a lot of brands, what they do is that they fall into the trap of communicating impact before they actually pave the way for the journey to start, for the external stakeholders to actually follow that journey. Instead, they just put out a press release saying, oh, you know, we have partnered with so-and-so NGO. We're going to create a great initiative in Africa that's going to help 200 people, give them access to quality education, for example. But that's just an announcement. Now, what comes after is extremely important, because this is what gets the credibility and the accountability and the real aspect of the initiative and the impact behind it. So I can go out there and make all sorts of announcements, but if I don't follow up on those announcements, and follow up meaning communicate numbers, who was impacted, where, how, and what, I will lose credibility along the way as a brand. So yeah, strategize, act, impact are the 3 steps that we follow, and yeah, it's been a wonderful journey so far.
Why do you think people are scared to make their brand personal?
I think they're scared to be judged. Yeah, because there's a lot of judgment.
How do you think then people can stop worrying about being judged then?
Look, I had a bit of a personal story. I'll tell you about it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I've been on social media, I've been on TV, I've been, you know, public speaker. I mean, I'm in the public. And I'm all about keeping it real and not being scared to be vulnerable and not showing. So I had a video about Mother's Day that I wanted to post on social media. But then for some reason, the last minute I said, oh no, let's pause. I'm not quite sure. And then the team was like, why? And I said, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to be judged. I feel like maybe I'm preaching too much. I feel like, no, does it look real? Does my makeup look too much? Does it look too scripted? Can we just, and I kept on doubting. And then one of the team members said, Mariam, stop. You're doing exactly what you're telling your clients not to do. She's like, just, it's you. And if you'll get a bit of judgment along the way, you always say it's okay. So we tend to get scared, and I think this is something that we spoke about on the panel as well last week. When it's your first Instagram live, or you're scared of what your friends will say. They'll make fun of you, right? Or other people will be like, oh my God, you're so pretentious and you're so unreal when you're trying to be real. Or, oh, look at her, she doesn't look good, or she's saying nonsense, or whatever. I honestly feel that this is your personal space. Your social media is your personal space. I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday, and they were saying, I get judged a lot on social media, but they also have an option to unfollow. And so I think what happens here is that when you take a decision to be out there in the public, you have decided to be vulnerable. And so if you've decided to be vulnerable, you need to take it with the ups and downs. And so don't be reactive on social media. Never ever react to hate comments or negative comments. Take them with a pinch of salt. And sometimes there are good comments. So improve on the ones that you need to improve on. And the ones that are just pure hate and negativity for the sake of, getting a comment out there, just don't look at it. Just keep on going straight. Make sure to know that you're inspiring so many other people, and those 2 comments won't make a difference, right?
You're focus on the 2 rather than the 10 or the 200 that you've done it. I don't know also if it comes a little bit with age. I don't know. I kind of hit a point at sort of, late 30s. And maybe that was sort of more of the transition coming out of the fashion industry full time, where the opinions that I thought once mattered really don't and never have done. And it was just that sort of reflection going, wow. And the other aspect of is also knowing that not everyone's going to like me. That's okay. Not everyone's going to agree with me. That's okay, because I don't agree with everything I see on someone's social media. So if you don't, how can you expect everyone else to? And I'm just using social media as an example, but it's okay. And then when I started to really understand that, well, I don't like everyone, so not everyone's going to like me. And then that became sort of like, well, that's normal. That's just human. That's just how it goes. And I feel good. I make others feel good, the ones that count. And that kind of made it. I also saw a meme, I think, and it was something like, I don't know if you've seen it, like, oh, your opinions don't pay my bills, or something like that. Have you seen it?
Oh no, but I love that.
It was something like something along the lines of like, you think your opinions matter? They don't pay my bills. It was something along those lines, and I was like, it's so true. They really don't, So
it is true. And you said something that really resonated. You are not going to be liked by everyone, right? And that's okay. And that's what I always tell my kids. I have 2 teenagers at home, 1 teenager, 1 preteen. And I always tell them, they're boys, right? I always say, look, guys, you're not going to always be the favorite. You're not going to always be the, it's okay. And they actually take it better than me. They're amazing. But it's true with age as well. Like, I realized when I turned 40, I was like, nope, that's it. If there's an outing that I do not wish to go to, and if there are people there that I do not like or I don't enjoy spending time with, I'm not going.
Oh, I
and
hear
I don't
you.
care what anyone says.
Yeah.
Because you see that clock behind me. Yeah, it's not the right time. I need to change the batteries. But time, you don't get time back, right?
Yeah.
So I want to spend my time wisely with the people that I enjoy their company. Like this podcast, I'm loving this. My time with you and the ladies last week was just the perfect start of my weekend, because the energy in that room was just so uplifting.
Really was, yeah.
So that was worth my time.
Yeah.
Other times I want to stay away from negative, toxic, complaining for no reason kind of time. I do not wish to sit with pretentious people. I do not wish to so time is so that's when I turned around when I turned 40, and I was like, no, I'm going to use my time wisely. And even if I'm watching TV, that's my time.
I actually did my TEDx talk on time.
Really? That's so interesting. I want to see that. I'm going to look for it.
It's on YouTube. And I look at it now, and it was 2014. So I'd love to redo it. It's 8 years old now. And I think my confidence level as a speaker, the message stays true. It really does. But it was all based on this book that I had read, which I actually think you'll really like. It's called Life in Half a Second. And I had read this, I think maybe, was it just before my granny had passed away or just after? And it was, just that kind of moment where, what do we want to do? And then all these kind of things came to me, and it was like, our life is going past too quickly. And yeah, that was the TEDx talk. So I'm completely with you, which goes back to the event on Friday was slightly selfishly organized around my needs, in the sense of, I say my needs, that's maybe not right. My desires of I don't like going out at 8 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night. It's rare that you'll get me doing that. I'm a daytime person. I like spaces that have really good energy. So there's got to be great lighting, floor to ceiling windows, which is what that had. And a space that is it towards the end of the week where people feel like they can relax and don't have to rush back to the office. But afternoon, and I remember Adriana Huffington talking about this years ago, before I really kind of adopted it, the same philosophy was, you get the best of people during the day. You get the worst of them at the end of the day. So, okay, sure, like, don't get me wrong, now and again, going out on a date and dressed up and all that kind of thing, a special birthday dinner, but it's rare. I want to get the best of people during the day. I want to learn about them. I want to see them when they're awake, rather than going, oh, I wish I was in bed watching Bridgerton or something like that, So, yeah.
You're so right that the light in the room was angelic, and those chandeliers that were, I think they were made of like bamboo. I mean, it was a very sustainable material. They looked beautiful. I mean, the choice of the venue was amazing. The women, I think all of them, the women and the men who were there, wanted to just be happy, be in the moment.
Yeah.
The conversations that were shared on the first panel, or our panel, was so real and so genuine and authentic that I actually enjoyed so much. And you're right, I don't like to go out after 8 p.m. by the way. I'm a day person myself. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I enjoy dressing up every once in a while and going out, but honestly, 10 p.m., I just want to be home in my jammies.
Absolutely. Because I think I realized as well off the back of that, it goes the step further. So I value my morning routine more than anything, because that's what gets me through the day. So if I don't get my morning routine in, then that kind of puts me off kilter, because that to me is, and I read that in one of your articles actually, that you had said, spending time with your boys, but also working out was where you kind of then go back to feeling decentered. And I think that's so important as a business owner yourself, especially when you're in a small team, or you've got to motivate and inspire other people. Like, I've got to be on form for all my clients, and I really want to be, to help them grow their business. The only way to do that is by, for me, exercising in the morning. If I'm out till 11 o'clock at night, there's something that's got to give. And that generally is the exercise on that.
Absolutely. I value my Pilates like crazy. I mean,
are you reformer or?
I'm not a reformer person. I'm more of an active person. So I do bar religiously 2 to 3 times a week.
Nice.
It literally has transformed not only my physique, but my mental and core. And I felt that I'm strong. You know, when you feel that you're strong and you're together, that everything is together, that you actually got this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my start of the morning. I do sessions at 8:30 in the morning. You'll never find me in that studio ever after 11.
Yeah.
11 a.m. I mean, I don't know how people do it when they have sessions at 7:30 at night, which is exactly what we're talking about, like morning, you know.
Yeah.
So sports and working out, whatever your workout is super important to keep you going. But also you mentioned something, is the morning routine. And I was listening to Mel yesterday, because she's one of my role models and someone that I value her journey so much, Mel Robbins. And if you're listening and you don't know who Mel Robbins is, please check her out. She's an amazing 53-year-old woman who had ups and downs, more downs than ups, but she really transformed a lot of people around her, sharing her own transformation story. Yesterday I was watching, because that's another part of my morning, is that I do my 10-minute meditation time when I give myself time with my cup of coffee, which says super mom, by the way, and just kind of like, you know, imagine my day going well and so on. Then while I'm getting ready, I listen to content about different things. So it could be neuroscience, it could be time management, it could be how do you get over your obstacles, it could be anything. So yesterday, randomly, was all about morning. It was all about morning routine. You mentioned morning routine. It's so important.
Yeah.
To everyone that's listening, get a morning routine going, because it will set the tone and it will set the mood for the rest of your day. It will get you started. So whatever that morning routine is.
Just out of interest, Mel Robbins, I haven't read her High Five book. I read the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Which one's better?
I haven't read the High Five one. I read the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, okay.
And it fascinated me because I'm a big fan of neuroscience. I'm a big fan of manifesting and manifestation. I was extremely skeptical about this years ago. I was thinking, come on, you guys, seriously, like what? But then when I got into it, because of a TEDx talk that I was doing, by the way.
Oh, awesome.
I researched, in 2019, I did my first TEDx talk in Cairo, in Egypt. I flew there and so on. And it was about manifesting your future and manifesting your dreams, and how can you change your mindset, and how science, it's all about science. And this is what Mel talks about when she talks about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, is that it's all resetting. It's just you're resetting your wires and making things happen for yourself. And so I talked about Albert Einstein when he basically says, you know, life is a preview of your own manifestation. I mean, he talked about your dreams are a preview of your own life. So it's just fascinating because it, you know, those 10 minutes in the morning can actually make you imagine, like imagination is a preview of your own day. So if you sit for 10 minutes imagining your day and how it's going to go, you can actually do this because it's you that makes your own day. Yes, I believe in God. Yes, I believe that, you know, there's a divine intervention. Absolutely. But if you decide to wake up every morning and say, I'm going to have a great day today, I'm going to speak to Kelly and I'm going to have a beautiful conversation and it's going to set the tone to go beautifully throughout the day, then let's do this. But if you wake up in the morning and say, oh my God, I had a late night last night.
Yeah.
I still have to speak to Kelly and I have a really long day. You've already decided that your day is going to go super negative and super down on energy. And so, I think it all starts with your morning routine and manifesting, imagining a preview of how your day is going to go. And then you can actually imagine a preview of how your life goals will go. So that's my TEDx talk. Check it out. I would love to know what you
watch each other's TEDx talks. I have one question that I kind of just want to finish up on, and I think I'm quite interested to know what your answer is, given that we're in that sort of personal space. Is there one myth that you would like to debunk, so to speak, about kind of humanizing brands, the personality behind it, that you kind of hear people say, or you think this is so not true? Or
wow, that's a really deep question.
See, like one of the things I find myself that people go, I need to be an extrovert. I need to be someone that I'm not in order to be more personal. And that for me is a big myth. I feel that, you don't have to be an extrovert. You don't have to be an influencer, a celebrity to humanize your brand or to be more personal. You have to be you. And, I think I said this on Friday, what is obvious to you is amazing to others. And it's so true. So that would kind of be one. I don't know if there's any sort of thoughts on the back of that.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about people, I think a lot of people are scared to be out there or when they get invited to speak or when they get invited to an event, they always say, oh yeah, but why are they inviting me? Why am I important? I don't have reach and followers. I don't have a story to tell. And that's the myth, I think. Everyone has a story to tell.
Okay, everyone. I like that, yeah.
Everyone has a story. Don't ever allow yourself to think that because your story is not a Bill Gates story or an Oprah story, that your story doesn't matter. It does not have to be spectacular. One of the things that I always say on stage for brands and people who want to become change makers, want to change the world to a better, to be a better place, focus on humanity and so on, is that I always say, start with one person. So put a tweet today, put a post out today to inspire others. And if you manage to inspire one person, then you have managed to, take that goal for today. It doesn't have to be millions of people. Yeah. That's another myth that a lot of brands think that if I want to launch my social impact initiative, how many people will we help? And I say, well, we can be realistic and start with 100, for example. Oh, no, we can't say that because that's just too little. And I'm like, that's not little, because if you're changing 100 people's lives, you're changing 100 homes, 100 households. How many people are inside that household?
Nice.
Maybe 5 or 6 in rural areas. So multiply that 100 by X amount of that household. You're changing someone's life to get a job or to get a better education or to get a better future. You're literally changing their community around them. You're inspiring everyone and everything around them. So that's the way you should look at impact as well. So the story is that everyone has a story to tell.
Yeah.
And the impact is that the impact doesn't have to be millions, doesn't even have to be thousands or hundreds. If you impacted someone's life today, if I made Kelly happy today and I was part of the start of a great morning today, then that's great. I'm happy I made Kelly smile today.
I love that. The intro, by the way, is my goal, as I always share this, is to inspire at least 5 people a day. And if I can do at least 5, and some days it could be 50, and some days it could just be 1 or whatever. But if I go at least 5, but that is the intro. So it's absolutely perfect. So for those that are listening,
you already ticked. You ticked one. You
yeah,
got more to go. You inspired me today.
Well, because then I always say, if something's inspired you to take action, leave a comment, repost this podcast so other people can listen to it, because this is how we create movement. This is how we create change and do inspired action. So yeah, I love that. Thank you. How can people find you, Mariam?
I'm on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So Mariam Farag. I'm on Instagram, Mariam Farag Official. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. And, send me an email on LinkedIn. Send me a direct message on Instagram. I always respond. I respond to more people that I don't know than the people that I know, because I know the people that I know will WhatsApp me or give me a call. You can find me if you're a startup, if you are a company that wants to change its internal culture to reflect better positivity on its external stakeholders. But if you're also starting entrepreneur, you don't have a big budget, and you want to start your own brand story and values, I would love to be involved, because I want to help more brands and more companies that cannot actually afford the big guns and the big boys, the big agencies, basically. I'm there because I want to make a difference with companies that really want to make things happen but don't have the big budgets.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being part of our episode today. Loved your story. I feel like we could have kept chatting. I'm looking at the time and I had said 30 minutes and we're nearly at an hour. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure speaking to you last week, and I look forward to sharing this podcast with so many.
Kelly, thank you so much. Your energy is literally contagious. You are a beautiful person inside and out. I'm so happy that we met, because your energy in the room set the tone last week. I was so inspired, because I'm a moderator myself and I'm a speaker myself, and I like to MC and host, as you can see, super extrovert. But I'm usually critical of people who do that job, and you did that job so beautifully and so perfectly that I was like, oh my God, I need to speak to Kelly. I need to get some tips from her. You're natural. Natural. Thank you so much for having me this morning, and I hope our listeners were inspired as much as we were.
I am very sure they will be. Thank you so much. Bye for now.